Hi, everyone. We are so glad that you are here. We are going to start our session now. We're at 11:15. I want to make sure to respect everyone's time. So we're just going to start with some introductions. Hi, everyone. I'm Angela DeDios. I teach psychology at Cypress College, and I'm also one of the co-facilitators for a program called the Course Redesign that we're going to be talking about today.
And hi, everyone. I'm Tori Dragunov. I am a chemistry instructor at Cypress College and also a co-facilitator of this awesome program that we've been implementing at Cypress College called that Course Redesign. So we're excited to tell you a little bit about it today.
And so we would love to see who's here at our session with us. So if you could introduce yourself in the chat, let us know what discipline you teach, what college you're at. And if you've got any questions for us up front, you can pop that into the chat as well. So we're excited to get to see where all you folks are from. So as you all do that, we are going to get started. And we're going to start with Tori.
All right. So in our profession, we know that students we want to be student-centered, and we want our students to succeed. Now, we found that through there's been a lot of research done that students that have good relationships with their instructors are more likely to succeed. So we see that the big number, 58% of community college students report feeling less motivated, less engaged, or that they're growing less academically than before the pandemic. So there's a lack of connection from the students to their learning institutions. So you can see just from the chart that there's a lot more success. So they grow academically, they feel engaged, they have a sense of belonging, they have motivated to learn when they have good relationships with their professors. So we're implementing a program that has a welcoming atmosphere for students so that they feel like they get that good relationship with their instructors and therefore more likely to succeed. So the program that was implemented at Cypress College is we call it the Course Redesign, and it addresses the new areas. So we have a equity-minded framework, so to bring in the welcoming aspect for students. How do I think this one? Yeah. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. And we do that by bringing in equity building blocks. So you actually see all the building blocks on the screen. So there's the intersectionality, the validate, awaken, represent, elevate, spark, demystify, welcome, and partnership. We've taken these 9 elements to bring into our classrooms to bring that connectiveness or to increase the welcomeness of our students. So we're doing this by bringing in practical tools. So we've all been to those conferences and those places that they do all of the theory. This is why it works, but they don't tell you how to do it. What is the practical application? How do I bring this into my classroom? So the Course Redesign actually brings real world practical knowledge and practical actionable items that teachers implement immediately. So it's not something that, oh, maybe in the future I'll do. It is tomorrow I can start implementing this into my class. So a couple of the ways to do this are warm, proactive communication. So inviting students into the class, giving a welcome email a week before, or even hey, don't forget we have class tomorrow. That is a part of a demystification. Hey, I always get emails from students. When does class start? Do I need to attend lab first? They aren't sure. And allowing that demystification or allowing the clarification for students brings in the welcoming aspect and proactive communication and active learning practices. So not being that sage on the stage and sitting back and letting students just sit there and listen to you. It is an active learning environment. And it's applicable across all teaching modalities and all subjects. So from social science to other sciences to English, from online to hybrid to in-person, these work for everything. So it's very, very universal.
And so it's been really our goal to help sort of shift faculty mindset to adjust for these students and for the findings that we saw in that Gensler report.
So what is CORE? So it merges equity-minded teaching principles with best practices in online and in person to support development for student-ready faculty and college. So the program that we have instructors go through is a 3-week program with 6 synchronous Zoom sessions and then asynchronous Canvas content. So we have 6 2-hour classes that there's the interaction between the professors and instructors. Then they go out and actually work on the material. So there's 2 weekly assignments and 6 deliverables during the class that we all work on and discuss. It also helps faculty develop an equity-minded perspective and provides tangible evidence-based techniques that can be immediately incorporated. So the assignments that are in CORE, they take from the CORE class and then immediately implement into their own classrooms. So they are not, hey, this is cool, but what do I do with it? It is, hey, I did this cool assignment in CORE. I am now implementing it 2 weeks later in my own class. And faculty are compensated. So that is always a struggle, is how do you get faculty buy-in? Well, yes, you always get the hardcore, yes, this is so awesome, we're going to do this. And then there's like, well, what are you going to pay me for it? So there is a stipend or equivalent unit credits upon completion of the whole program and deliverables. So it's been a huge help in the faculty buy-in to pay them for their time, because they are putting in a significant amount of time to help redesign their course. So it's not something that we want to take lightly. We want to go, yes, this is a significant investment, and we want to show that it is an investment in your time. So it's not only good for you, but it's also good for your students as well.
Yeah, and so those are kind of the nuts and bolts of the program, this professional development program that we have at our campus. I did want to give a little bit of history on it. So originally it started with myself attending Long Beach City Cultural Curriculum Audit. And then there were talks at our campus to really bring something like that to Cypress. And so I spoke with the folks over at Long Beach City. They were incredibly generous in sharing their materials. We took a lot of the foundational work that they did, including those equity building blocks. I want to make sure to give them credit for that. And we, tailored it to Cypress College. We added some stuff. We are constantly updating the program. For example, in this last cohort that we just graduated, we had a really robust sort of conversation around artificial intelligence and what that means for student assessment. And we're going to talk, we'll share a little bit more about that towards the end when we start getting into samples of what we do through this program. So we started the program in January of 2022, and we just graduated our 5th cohort. We do the programs in the winter break as well as the summer break to allow faculty that space and time to do all of the reflection and all of the updates and the redesigning that we're asking them to do. It's pretty challenging to do that during the semester. And in addition to what we've been doing and what we've been able to accomplish at Cypress, we've been working with folks over at Fullerton College, who is our sister college, and they're actually launching their version of CORE this summer as well. So we're really excited that it's sort of spreading, and we wanted to make sure to sort of share what we've been doing with folks, because we think it's such a wonderful way to engage faculty in these conversations that are so important to have. So when putting this program together, I have a psychology research background, and so I wanted to make sure that we were doing research and looking at the efficacy of this program. So when I looked at our program, I said, okay, well, I want to make sure that not only are we looking at student outcomes after an instructor has gone through the course redesign, but their experiences in the classroom as well, because yes, success and retention are one metric for us to look at how students are doing, but I think that their subjective experiences in the class are so important as well. And so looking through higher ed research, I found these 4 sort of measures that I think capture a lot of these equity building blocks that we have as the foundation for the course redesign. And so we had 4 metrics that we were measuring: a sense of belonging that student has within a class. And I think that really corresponds to the 2 building blocks of represent and spark. We ask students how much trust they have in their instructor. And so that really maps onto the welcome and partnership. We also ask students about growth mindset. We know that that's really important for engaging and motivating students to learn. That helps validate and elevate. And lastly, we have an outcome called task orientation. So really what that is just, are students clear on what the expectations are from their instructor? Do they know what they need to do in assignments to be successful? Are they clear with what they have to do, say in an asynchronous class? Where do I start? What do I do next? What is due? When is it due? So really that clarity that students have, that's called task orientation. And that really maps onto the equity building block of demystify, which is just making it really clear for students. So in the research that we've conducted, we've basically been able to see that when students experience higher levels of belonging, higher levels of trust in their instructor, and then higher levels of task orientation, that is associated with higher course grades. So yes, course grades are great to see how students are doing, but we also know that these particular outcomes are also associated with those grades. And so if we can bump up those levels of trust, belonging, and task orientation within our own courses, the idea is that hopefully that will also help students succeed more. And so again, we're really emphasizing the importance of these building blocks. So I want to share some data. This is the most recent data that we have available to us. It was measured in spring 2023. We did do data collection in fall 23, but we haven't received course grades back yet from institutional research. So this is the most recent data that we have. And so what we did was we actually recruit students from faculty's classes who have completed the course redesign. So they're from previous cohorts. And in addition to that, we actually recruit our new incoming cohort for the following semester. In this case, because it was spring, it would have been our summer 23 cohort. We recruited them, they committed to participating in the program, and then we go into their classrooms and collect data from their students before they have participated in the course redesign, so that we can actually compare these before and after with very similar types of faculty. All of the faculty interested in the program obviously are interested in increasing student success, in student equity, and inclusive teaching practices. So these faculty are all sort of similar in that sense, that they're interested in a program like this. So what we found was that for students who had faculty who had already completed the course redesign, they had significantly higher levels of belonging than students who had faculty who were still planning on completing core. This was also found for trust in the instructor. There were significantly higher levels of trust in the instructor for students who had faculty who already completed the program. And the same thing was found for that task orientation. Students found that those classes were more clear for them. The expectations were more easily understood, and they knew what they needed to do. We did not find a significant difference in growth mindset. And I think part of it is because we have sort of changed the way we're assessing growth mindset. When we first launched this in 22, we were measuring students' own growth mindset, but we have shifted to now ask about the instructor's growth mindset. And so there's a little bit discrepancy of the data there. So that might explain no significant difference there. I mean, another possible explanation is that we need to do better in the course redesign to promote that growth mindset and making it explicit for faculty that they should share this sort of mindset with their students and give them a little bit more tools. And we did not find any significant difference in course grades between our students before and after core. That could be for a variety of reasons. We know so many things go into students' ultimate grade at the end of the course. So in addition to this data, we have been collecting data every semester since we started core, which is really fun. So we can actually go back and sort of look through the previous semester's results. So this spring 22 was our very first round of data collection. We found that trust was significantly higher for faculty post-core. For the fall 22, we found that trust was still significantly higher. We found demystification, or that task orientation, was higher. So trending towards significant, but not yet significant. And then in this round of data collection, we did find that course grades were significantly higher for students when they had faculty who had already completed core compared to students who did not. And then this is just sort of a highlight slide of the data that I shared with you, the spring 23 data, which again is our most recent data. So I'm looking forward to looking at what we got for fall and seeing what those trends look like. And I'm also looking forward to looking at more of the longitudinal data following particular cohorts over time. Initially, like just from some initial analyses that I've been running, it looks as though there seems to be a nice bump in these metrics like belonging, trust, demystification right after faculty have gone through the course redesign program, and then they slowly kind of come down. And so I think that that really lends itself to showing that this is not, and professional developments like this are not a one and done type of situation. These are things that faculty need to be reminded of. They need to do it again so that they can sort of renew their excitement and energy for the things that we talk about at the course redesign.
All right, so we told you kind of how the background of it and all of the great things that we've accomplished with it. But what does it look like? What does it look like in practice? So we have a few examples of transformational assignments that we do in core. So one of them is our syllabus transformation. So on the left here, we see a normal, boring syllabus that we've seen our entire lives. So I'm sure that most of our syllabus either still look like this or we've seen the syllabus a bunch. It is no pictures, no colors, and it's really kind of hard to look at when you really take a step back. It's a lot of data, a lot of words in a small area. But who says it has to be like that? Nobody. So why not have a welcoming syllabus? Because this is kind of the first thing that your students see. Why not have it be exciting and easy to look at, or an interesting format? So a welcoming sign, having pictures. Students love it. Although, we feel like it's a resume almost. And they're always like, oh, don't put pictures on resumes. Well, this is not a resume. This is you trying to engage your students. And so having a welcome picture, saying what is inside, not in this paragraph form, but it demystifies what they're going to need. Showing partnership. We always, like at Cypress College, we now call them student hours instead of office hours. So that way students know that this is time for them. It's not just time that, oh, you're in your office doing your work. It is time for them to come and ask questions. So showing the partnership between you and your students. And also showing spark. Why are you doing this? Why should they care? Getting them excited about coming to class that first day. It's always hard that first day. You go, how come that my students, some of them didn't show up the first day? Well, maybe it's because they were intimidated by your Canvas shell or by your syllabus. So getting them even walking in that first day is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and so really the syllabus is one of the first things that we tackle in the course redesign. We start off with sort of the foundation of the equity building blocks, and then we go into the syllabus and we ask faculty to really reflect on what their syllabus looks like now, and does it have any of those equity building blocks? And one of the deliverables that we ask faculty to complete after our 3 weeks together is an equitized syllabus. And so we actually get their syllabi and we go through and we give them plenty of feedback on it. And the transformations are just amazing. It's really awesome to see faculty show their personality in these syllabi, to show their excitement for the course. And I think that it really resonates with students.
So not only just that front page of the syllabus to have we redone, it's the entire thing. So another one that we like to make sure that instructors become aware of is some kind of, a lot of times, punitive language. You say, you have to show, like big, bold words, you must show up to class, do not show up late, you will be dropped. This is non-negotiable, bolded letters. And that's intimidating. You think of somebody, you walking into some classroom and somebody almost yelling at you because it's bolded and capitalized, and thinking, wow, do I want to stay in this for the next 16 weeks? Or having a syllabus that says, welcome to class. I value your attendance. I value you showing up on time. I appreciate you showing up, and let me know if there's an issue if you can't come to class. So that way they know that you care about them. Also, represent, showing that you welcome everybody in your class, and that they can see themselves there. There's always that visual aspect of, can I see myself showing up? Can I see myself taking these classes? And due dates and assignments, this demystifying partnership. I love this at the end. If you find you're falling behind in their work, if you're having difficulties, please contact your instructor immediately. You can even say contact me immediately to even make it more personalized. You kind of, that third person even sometimes is like, well, your instructor, well, isn't that you? Yes. So you can make it a little bit friendlier and show exactly what you want, this face for your students.
All right. So another sort of topic that we tackle is Canvas, and really making sure that faculty have a really nice welcoming homepage, a landing page for students. And so I wanted to showcase sort of my before and after here. So before, it was very text heavy. It wasn't necessarily clear where students should go from there. Students were like, okay, great, now what? And so after, I share a lot of tools with faculty within the program, different ways that they can make the homepage look welcoming, make it look easy to navigate. So this was actually used with City Labs, which is a new fun tool at our campus that we're playing around with. It has buttons, we have a banner, we have different sections that really make it clear for students what they have to do. So again, highlighting that demystification, but also that sense of welcome, that students feel like, oh, this looks nice. And in addition to that, it helps to reduce that cognitive load. Students are already having to deal with so much across so many different classes. If we can reduce their cognitive load and make it clear for them what they need to do and where they need to click and where they need to go, that helps students tremendously.
All right. So another aspect to this is grading. And so you have it, you welcome your students, you have this face, they show up to your class. And now you give them an assignment and you want to give them feedback on it. And you want it to as instructive rather than evaluative. You don't want to have the punitive, oh, just -1. Well, why did they get a -1? You want to give the feedback to show, hey, you can improve on working on this aspect of it, or don't forget to do this. So that way the students aren't intimidated about opening the view feedback button. Because a lot of times I know students don't even want to look at it. Oh, I got the score, I don't even care. Well, we want them to grow in their learning. So if they don't even look at our feedback because they're scared, because they know it's going to be punitive, then there's no growth in it. So it's instructive rather than evaluative. It is specific and in the right dose. You don't, once again, students get intimidated if they open it up and it's all red. And so instead of making an all red assignment, you go, okay, you want to focus on maybe 1 or 2 points that you're going to be improving on. So Angela and I are both working on grading for equity. So we are trying to have students give multiple iterations of their assignments. So maybe you tackle these a couple major points in this one, and then the next iteration, you could focus on a few other points. So that way it's not overwhelming for students. And once again, they go, oh, it's small bites. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that, instead of just too much work for them. Also, it's timely. If students get the feedback 2 weeks later, after they've already turned in 2 more assignments, it's not going to be helpful for them. We want to make sure that they get the feedback in time for them to make the improvements for the next assignment, or that they still care about it. Right. So an assignment they turned in 2 weeks ago, they've forgotten about already. So you want to make it timely so that way they still care and they can make improvements for their next assignment. And overall, it is delivered in a low stress, supportive environment. So it doesn't trigger that anxiety for students that you are evaluating or grading them. So it lowers their anxiety when they know that you're giving feedback in a positive way instead of a punitive way.
So before Tori moves on, so if any of you are like sort of in the inclusive teaching practices space, like, the WISE feedback model, we didn't invent any of this stuff. We just gathered all of the incredible resources that other colleagues at various institutions have already done, and they've done research on this. And, all the research on the WISE feedback model says that this is helpful for all students, but particularly our historically minoritized students. So in core, we go over this type of content, and then we have faculty reflect on it. But on top of that, one of the things and one of the great benefits of the course redesign is that we are sort of modeling the type of thing that we want to see from instructors. For a lot of instructors, this is their first time experiencing a Canvas shell from a student side. They're used to seeing things from a faculty side, and so they don't know how confusing or how many button pushes it might take to look for feedback. And so throughout the 3 weeks together and in the deliverables, Tori and I give a lot of feedback to the faculty based on the assignments that they provide to us. And we really strive to model this WISE feedback. And so Tori is going to give some examples of that in the following slides.
All right, so some examples of wording for the WISE feedback is define language that is very formal, like referring to students as the student or as you as the instructor instead of me or you, can make it just less welcoming. So if you just say the student will do this, or the student, well, why not just say, make it personalized and make them feel welcome with it? So it can be phrased as, if you don't submit the 2 final essays, you may be dropped from the class. I will always reach out to you via email or Canvas message to make sure you're okay and to see whether you want to continue in the class. So instead of just saying, if you don't turn it in, you will be dropped. That is very unwelcoming. It seems like you don't care about what they're going through. I mean, life happens. We know life happens. Your grandmother gets sick, your dog dies. I'm sorry, my animals are very personal to me. So if something happened to my animals, I'm going to be devastated. And you're not in a mental capacity to necessarily turn in that assignment that is due 2 days later. If my students are communicating and they feel comfortable communicating with me, they don't need to tell me what's going on. They could say I have a personal issue. And as long as I feel that they feel that communication, they feel listened to, and they're more likely to stick around.
So this is actually feedback given to an instructor based on language in their syllabus. So what I want to highlight here in particular is that I could have very easily said, oh, your syllabus could sound a little bit more welcoming, right? And that's more evaluative, but this gives really specific instructional feedback. It says, this part in particular sounds very formal. You could rephrase it in this way. So it gives really specific feedback, ways that they can improve. We also tell faculty, by the way, that we're just giving you ideas. We're giving you our thoughts. You by no means have to do anything that we're saying because you are the expert of your class. And so ultimately, this exercise is for you to sort of reflect on how your materials look and to get a second set of eyes in there. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether you'd like to change that language or not.
All right. So another one is have you considered allowing students to submit or turn in prior to the final draft to check for their own plagiarism? So we're all kind of wary about AI, especially, and this allows students to kind of take it into their own, kind of put it on themselves of, what does my assignment look like? What is my instructor going to see when I put in this turnitin.com? And so if you can allow them to submit a rough draft and view that report, it gives them feedback on what plagiarism what is plagiarism, because sometimes they don't even know, and allows them to fix it before submitting it. So then it kind of takes away that punitive, oh, wow, look at all of this plagiarism. And the student goes, well, I didn't even know. Well, if you allow them to do it beforehand, then they'll know and they're allowed to fix it. Or even allowed to ask questions. Hey, professor, I wasn't sure. What does this mean? Why did this show up this way? And you can have a conversation with them beforehand, and not have the awkward, well, did you look at your report? It is all plagiarized. So it's allowing for a lot more conversations to happen. And another example of the wise feedback is you may consider linking a video here about how to turn on notifications so students know when you've given them feedback. So we always assume that, well, I did the feedback, so they should be able to access it. But when you're on the other side, it's actually can be kind of complicated. This is not an Apple product, I like to say, because it's not super intuitive on, well, just click here, and then you've got it. It does actually take a little bit of work to figure out a lot of times where stuff is. So a just short video on, hey, look at the screen. This is what you push. And here's all of the feedback that I want you to look at. So it reduces a little bit of the, or demystifies it for them. And it reduces the anxiety of, well, I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to bother looking for it.
Yeah, and so this is an example of one of the sort of resources that we provide for faculty who go through the course redesign, just their experience of looking for their own feedback and seeing how challenging it can be. And then I actually show them a video of how to change their notifications, and I give them the link so that they can use it for their own classes as well if they don't want to make their own video. All right, another area that we talk a lot about at the course redesign is culturally responsive pedagogy. And so we want to make sure that we are allowing students to bring their backgrounds, their expertise, their interest into the classroom and being able to utilize that as a platform of which to talk about content, right? That's really making the content something that is personal and exciting for our students so that they can see themselves in our content here. So I wanted to give an example of one of the assignments that I actually use as a culturally responsive assignment. So I teach developmental psychology, and one of our units is on love. And we talk about Sternberg's triarchic theory of love, lots of vocabulary, and can be very sort of theoretical. But in order to get students excited about it, get them connecting with that material, this is one of the assignments that I provided to them. So I asked them to think of a romantic couple in some form of media, right? It could be an Instagram couple, a couple from a television show, a movie, a book. The couple can be either real or fictitious. And really, I asked them, okay, whatever couple you choose, just talk about their dynamic and tell us which form of love you think they would be according to Sternberg. So it's really applying that theory and the vocabulary that we had into something that they are into, that they are bringing into the conversation. So this is also one of our deliverables that we ask faculty to complete, is to transform one of their existing assignments that may not be as culturally responsive into something that is more relevant to students.
I also love those culturally responsive assignments because students get excited about them. It's stuff that they see outside and they get to talk about themselves or talk about something that they love, and you get a really good response from them. So another thing we talk about in core is AI. This is kind of a big topic right now, and when we were talking about it in a class this last week with all the instructors, everybody was kind of apprehensive about it. And we asked, what do you think about AI? And some of the topics in the chat were like, what were some words that come to mind? And they think of like cheating and laziness and really negative things. And it does have consequences, but it doesn't always have to be negative. So we want to ensure that students are going to be using it. So we want to try to make our assessments so that way they can't just type it into AI. Hey, what is the answer? And have it pop up. Because let's be honest, they could do that at any time. So why are we making them learn this knowledge when they can literally type it into AI and get the answer? So we're trying to pull out the knowledge from themselves and get them to interact with the material and not just type it into an AI platform. So it's helping students feel welcomed, having warm, proactive communication with students kind of also deters them. So instead of having them just type it in and get the answer and be done, when you have the multiple drafts and allow them to redo assignments, that they don't feel like they have necessarily need to cheat. And especially culturally relevant assignments, they get excited about talking about, some random couple that they saw somewhere, or using grading practices that allow them to learn from their mistakes. So they're less likely to feel intimidated doing your assignments and less likely to use AI. But once again, we have to use that as a tool. So we have to know how can we actually bring it into the classroom instead of it being a negative thing, making it into a positive learning experience for them.
Yes, so let me speak a little bit more. So because artificial intelligence is such like a timely topic, as I was looking through all of the talks, it's like almost all the talks have artificial intelligence in the title because it has had such huge ramifications for not just higher ed, but like everywhere, right? Our entire economy is just being kind of rocked by this just dramatic increase of artificial intelligence. And so we have a really robust sort of conversation about what that looks like in our classrooms. And we talk about how Tori had mentioned a lot of the tools and the building blocks that we talk about through the course redesign really help set a good foundation so that students are less likely to feel compelled to just put it into an AI and then copy and paste the output into an assignment. We also have a really long sort of conversation surrounding perhaps a shift towards more authentic assessments. So what are authentic assessments? Really, it's trying to give students an opportunity to show their knowledge in ways that are more relevant to their real world experiences. So if we think about it and we reflect about it, when we do say things like multiple choice exams, There are very few times in our lives where we're going to be put into a room and told to just sit there and find the correct answer on this multiple choice exam. That's not really what a lot of our careers look like. And so really thinking about, in whatever discipline you're in, what their future career, their job might look like, what they'd be asked to do, and trying to tailor the assignments that make it more reflective of that. So for example, we had this discussion in core, nursing faculty. They say, oh, we do a lot of sort of role play where one of the students is going to pretend to be a patient and like talk about their symptoms. And then the nursing student has to sort of do triage. And I'm like, that's an amazing example of an authentic assessment that is much more applicable to what nurses are going to be doing when they get their job versus sitting there doing a multiple choice exam, right? And so we have that sort of conversation around that. And so in addition to presenting a lot of content during the course redesign, we also like to do a lot of active learning, again, modeling sort of the best practices that we've pulled from lots of different sources. So this is an example of a Jamboard that we have done at the course redesign, where we ask faculty to think about an assignment that they currently use that students could easily use ChatGPT or another AI application to submit, brainstorm ways that the assignment might be altered to better assess student learning. And then we put them in breakout rooms, and then we ask them to share out once they return. So Tori and I actually wanted to give you a little taste of that. Before we do that, I did want to take a breath to open it up for questions. We kind of have been talking for a while now, and I wanted to make sure to open up to address any questions or comments that anyone may have. So you can feel free to pop that in the chat. You can unmute yourself. All right, I see in the chat there, Dr. Sally Mahmood said, can we get access to the PowerPoint? I will be sharing the link to that more towards the end. All right, if there are no questions, let's go ahead and give you a little taste of the course redesign. So here is what we are going to do. Has anybody used Jamboard before? You can pop that in the chat, raise your hand.
Yeah, little thumbs up work too.
Yeah. Okay. A couple folks. All right. So I'm going to orient you to Jamboard since we've got some faculty who are not as familiar with it. So I'm putting the link into the chat. You can click on that link and it will take you to this page here. All right, so first thing that you should note is that there is this little caret here up at the top, this little right-hand caret, and that will navigate you to different pages into the Jamboard. So in a second, we're going to put you into a breakout room. So pay attention to the breakout room number that you're being asked to join. And then once you get in there, I will ask you to navigate to that breakout room slide. Now, once you get to that slide, we'll ask you to type your names here, right? So if you double click on that little sticky note, you can edit what the sticky note says. And so you can type out your names there. And then have a conversation with these new folks that you're meeting. And so then after your conversation or during your conversation, you can add some notes here to the Jamboard. Again, this is a really good tool to use, especially if you're in a remote context, to actively engage your students. So lots of different ways you can contribute to the Jamboard. You can use a sticky note and you can type something there. And then you can hit save, and then it will show up on your Jamboard, and you can sort of move things around. You can change the color. You can also just use a text box and you can just start typing. And so those are a couple of ways that you can sort of engage with the Jamboard. So are there any questions before we get started? Okay. So let me go ahead and create these rooms here. All righty. And we'll give you like 5 minutes so that we have some time for Q&A at the end. And just to give you a little taste, and then we'll come back together. All right, have fun, everyone. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope that y'all were able to sort of meet some new folks, talk a little bit. I know 5 minutes is not very long. Does anyone want to share what you talked about in the breakout rooms? We saw some people talking in there, so hopefully some good conversations. Does someone from room 1 want to share? I see Sally, Rebecca, Sue. Looks like y'all had some good ideas.
Yeah, we were still trying to navigate how to use the Post-its. And by the time we did, then we were already coming back to the main room. But some of us were able to put up some of the assignments that we currently use that students could use ChatGPT for. And that's as far as we got.
Fair enough. Yeah, we didn't give you very much time. Like at the course redesign, we give a lot more time and a lot more space for conversation. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for that today. But that gives you sort of a snapshot of what core is. And we really appreciate y'all coming. We think that this is such a valuable tool for faculty and for really helping get those really important conversations going about teaching, about assessment, about artificial intelligence, about feedback. So we really appreciate you being here. We are open for questions, and otherwise, y'all enjoy the rest of the conference, and hopefully we'll see you around. Oh, I should share the slides. Let me share those in the chat. All right. There we go. Those are the slides for y'all. Has all that information in there. And it has my contact information as well as Tori's contact information. So if you want to talk a little bit more about the course redesign or maybe developing something like this at your campus, talk to us. Like, we are very happy to share resources. Thanks, everyone. Awesome, Anna. That's great. Yeah, we would love to talk more.
Thank you. We too are a HSI institution, so I think this would be very useful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great program.
I also have to say, I like the way, I'm sorry, I'm just hogging the speaker, but I like the way you broke it out into what translated into trust and what translated into having your students feel welcome and supported. I don't see that too often. Like, I hear us talk about students need to trust their instructors, they need to feel they're in a welcoming environment, but actually having that connection so the instructor knows how to link the two together. So what to focus on, that was really crucial. That was the first I've seen, so I appreciate that much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's such an important piece that I think, is under sort of studied. And so I wanted to emphasize that it's not just about grades for students, it's about their overall experience in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.